Good morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, December 23rd. This will be the last briefing for the year until after the Christmas New Year holiday period, at which point the briefings will resume again Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, all the way up until the upcoming fire season. Looking at precipitation the past 7 days, quite dry, bone dry across the eastern three-quarters of the Great Basin, just some light amounts across western Nevada. It's about 0 to 10% of normal precipitation for December on the right-hand side. You can see that we've had a little snowfall on the left-hand side, and snow cover still continues across much of the higher terrain of Idaho, western Wyoming, Utah, and northeastern Nevada. So still most of the forest lands in the middle to higher elevations have some snow cover. Lower elevations below 5,000 feet seem to be fairly bare. Looking at 100-hour fuels, you can see how much they've dried out in the last couple of days. Being dry, the yellow area about 11 to 15%, and in some of these golden shades here across southern Nevada in the single digits in terms of 100-hour fuels. 1,000-hour fuels still moist but have dried a bit. Most of the Great Basin is above 15% on the heavier fuels, and also lots of those heavier fuel areas are in areas of current snow cover. Satellite imagery shows a transition to a more stormier pattern. Looks quite ominous. Actually, not as much precipitation as the satellite imagery indicates, but still lots of enhanced clouds and moisture pushing on in. We will start to see light to locally moderate precipitation start moving up from the south. Also, the tight packing of these height lines, the yellow lines in yellow, indicate increasing winds, and the approach of low pressure as opposed to high pressure indicates better overall vertical mixing. So a change towards improved dispersion starting today. So here's a map for today. On the left-hand side, you can see the map shows where overcast skies and moisture continues across a good portion of the Great Basin. On the right-hand side, you can see that dispersion gets better as you head further west. Still lingering kind of low. We have some lingering morning inversions that, because of the cloud cover, will take a tough time to burn off. So still fairly poor across eastern areas. On the left-hand side, transport winds starting to pick up across the south. Lighter winds as you head further north. Vertical mixing. Areas in the green to yellow, orange shades indicates pretty good vertical mixing. Areas in the purple indicate where inversions will probably persist throughout the day. On Tuesday, you can see that storm system with moisture still pushing into parts of Utah and Idaho and Wyoming, getting drier briefly across Nevada. You see the dispersion improves. Very few areas in purple except up across eastern Idaho, but otherwise improving across most areas. Transport winds on the left-hand side picking up. The green to orange shades indicate anywhere from 15 to 30 miles per hour. Vertical mixing improving as well. Now on Wednesday, still a big broad trough of low pressure lingering. Lots of clouds, lots of moisture across the area. Maybe not as much moisture across Idaho, but central and southern sections should be cloudy with some precipitation. But because we're under low pressure on the right-hand side, very few areas in purple. Dispersion improving, especially in the south. Winds will be the limiting factor. Where you see the purple areas here on the left, winds on the transport level side will be fairly light, but pretty good transport winds across southern Nevada, southern central Utah. Vertical mixing, again, good, except in those areas of purple, still some lingering low-level inversions throughout the afternoon. The Utah Clearing Index shows an improvement from today to tomorrow, with many areas in the orange and red indicating good overall mixing. It is these areas in the purple where inversions will continue for quite some time. Precipitation totals over the next 3 days indicates light to moderate amounts. The shades in blue indicate a ½ inch or more. The green shades indicate anywhere from a couple of hundredths of an inch to maybe a quarter of an inch. So most of the area will see precipitation, but it should be fairly light, much of it in the form of snow in the higher elevations, but probably just about maybe 2 to 5 inches in most areas, except for some localized higher amounts where you see areas in the blue. Now on Thursday, low pressure closes off over Southern California. Lots of moisture from Arizona into the southern portion of Nevada, and that's where vertical, or actually overall dispersion will be pretty good. Areas in the white should be drier further north, and that moisture stays to the south, maybe clipping far southeast Utah. Otherwise, northerly dry winds, where you see the areas in tannish to red. You can see on the right-hand side the best dispersion in the southern central Nevada and Utah, worst to the north. And then high pressure here starts to build in on Saturday. See the ridge of high pressure from California into Oregon. Dispersion starting to wane, and high pressure ridge building over the Great Basin, especially eastern areas. On Sunday, you can see that's the worst area of the purple. There is another low pressure trough pushing into the Pacific Northwest. We'll see how this moves. A very complex pattern coming up for the next couple of days. Precipitation once we go into Thursday afternoon and beyond into the weekend, mostly across southern areas, and again very light, otherwise northern areas stay dry. Now the 8 to 14-day outlook shows a cooler than normal signal across much of the Great Basin, especially central and southern areas, but drier conditions prevailing from California pushing into the Great Basin. The storm track kind of splitting, part of it going further north into the northern Rockies and part into the southern portion of the Four Corners states. This concludes our briefing. Again, this will be the last briefing until after the new year. Have a great holiday period.